Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks commentary for Thursday, March the 1st. I'm Clay Emo at Canuck Clay on Twitter, and I'm one of the founding members of the Canucks Positivity Club. Last night was a positively entertaining game. It was a 6-5 overtime loss to the New York Rangers, but it was entertaining, it was exciting, energetic, hits, breakaways, turnovers, nice goals, special teams, whatever you want. Last night had it. And yes, both the Rangers and the Canucks were sporting new players in their lineup. The Rangers, as we know, jettisoned off 3 of their veterans for a nice haul on trade deadline. Canucks not so active, but still 2 of their 3 new players were in the lineup last night, and they both did really well. Brendan Leipsic, wow, he was inserted into the top line with Boeser Horvat and Brock Boeser, and he did not look out of place at all. In fact, he looked like he'd been playing with them all season. He ended up with no goals, but 2 nice assists, and he was energetic on the ice the whole time. Very noticeable. Every time he was on the ice, the puck seemed to find him. And he's a good puck carrier. We saw that, actually. And Travis Green even mentioned that he doesn't want Bo necessarily to be a true playmaker, rather that Bo is a power forward with a nice shot who can make plays. So maybe Leipsic will drive a lot of play for that line if they stick together over the last part of the season. So again, Leipsic ended up with 2 assists in just under 18 minutes of ice time, and he looked really good, especially that backhand goal, that backhand pass for Brock Boeser's 5th goal, the goal that tied the game with just under a couple minutes left. So that was exciting. Leipsic fit right in. And with Leipzig's emergence, or likely emergence, as maybe a staple on that top line, you got to feel a little bit for Sven Barchi. I'm not sure which one it is. I've heard both, actually. Let's go with Sven Barchi for now. Got to feel for him, who started the season on that line with Brock and Bo, but is now relegated to 4th line minutes, although he does have decent chemistry with Sam Gagner, and Jake Virtanen. So that's Brendan Leipsic. The other new player that made the lineup last night was Tyler Motte. Only 13 minutes of ice time, and not as noticeable because he was playing on a 3rd line with Darren Archibald and Brandon Sutter. But Mott did not look out of place at all. He was solid, and he really brought the crowd to its feet, or at least to some audible applause and cheers when he had a really strong penalty-killing shift in the 3rd period. In fact, he single-handedly hemmed the New York Rangers into their own zone, in their own corner behind Lundqvist, by making a couple great body checks, by being strong on a stick, and even knocking the stick out of a New York Rangers defenseman's hand. So Mott had a decent game, a solid, if not unspectacular game in those 13 minutes of ice time. Played no power play minutes, but played on the penalty kill. In fact, with Granlund and Eriksson out, the 2 duos for the forwards were Archibald and Sutter, which we're used to, and now Boeser Horvat, because you need center. It was Horvat and Tyler Motte, and they looked fine together. They looked comfortable together on the penalty kill. So that's it for the new players. We're not sure when Jussi Jokinen will get in the lineup. I'm not sure if anyone's really wanting to see that, but we'll see what happens. At least with Leipsic and Mott, gave a small glimpse to the future of the Canucks, especially if those 2 continue with their good play and make the team next year. And they're 23 and 22 years old, respectively, as I talked about in my last blog. And you can see why the Canucks were at least interested in them, or why they accepted them readily in those trades. Especially with Leipsic, he's young. He was a 3rd-round draft pick just a few years ago, and there's potential for him. Of course, he couldn't make a very strong Vegas team, a Vegas team that's near the top of the league right now, or at the top of the league. So if Leipsic is that good and couldn't make the team, just imagine how good Vegas is, and we might have had a nice find in that. So I'm declaring right now, 3 days after the trade happened, that we have won the Brendan Leipsic for a Philip Holm trade. Being a little bit facetious, but at least it was a good start for Leipsic. Second thing, big news that came out of yesterday, Gary Bettman was in town. You know, Gary Bettman's growing on me. I hated him back in 2011 when he was awarding the Stanley Cup right in front of me firsthand to the Boston Bruins. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff around the lockout that happened right after that, and a lot of vitriol towards him. But, you know, in interviews, especially despite the Olympics fiasco, in the interviews yesterday, I actually don't mind him. I wouldn't say I love him, but do I like him? Maybe. But he's acceptable. He's bearable. How's that? Anyways, Bettman was in town to announce probably the worst kept secret around town, that as part of the Vancouver Canucks 50th anniversary celebration, 50 seasons, they will be hosting not only the World Juniors, Vancouver will be, but the 2019 NHL Entry Draft. And it'll be on June 21st and June 22nd at Rogers Arena. It's going to be a nice 45th birthday gift to me. Yes, I'm old, but on June 22nd, 2019, that is my 45th birthday. It's too bad it's not the first day of the draft, not likely. It will be the second day, but still I'll be able to go to an NHL event hopefully, and with some hardcore fans, and see all the 31 teams down on the floor below, and hopefully hear the Canucks and Jim Benning announce the names of some future players. So again, it'll be day 2, but obviously I want to go to day 1 as well. Who knows where the Canucks will be drafting? I don't know if it's ironic or fitting that maybe that's the one year they do win the lottery, presuming that they don't make the playoffs next year and next season. And wouldn't that be amazing if the Canucks had the number 1 pick in the NHL Entry Draft that they're hosting? Wow. Well, let's worry about that later. The Canucks have hosted the draft twice before, once at BC Place in 1990 and in the mid-2000s at Rogers Arena, which was then called GM Place. It's kind of funny. Gary Bettman didn't want to mention the words GM Place yesterday. He said we had the draft here in this arena under a new name. When it was on under a different name. So that's it. That's it for the draft 2019, June 21, June 22 in Rogers Arena in Vancouver as part of the club's 50th anniversary celebrations. All right, lastly, really interesting, as I didn't get to watch the game. Wednesday night is my church night, but I was following the tweets, and I've always been interested in this Brock Boeser and Bo Horvat combo. Obviously, Travis Green likes to play them together, even more so than Brock and Berchi, as I just talked about. So you got Brock and Bo, probably the two cornerstones and foundation players for our franchise for years to come. Bo Horvat with his new 6-year contract. Brock Boeser, we know he's going to get at least 6 years and at least $33 million. It'll be way more than that probably by the time that happens. So as I was getting these tweets about nice pass from Bo to Brock and chemistry and blah, 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 I sent a simple tweet kind of saying, do you think that the combination of Brock and Bo will ever be as good or as effective as or accomplished as the Sedins? And there's obviously similarities. There's the centers, Horvat and Henrik. There's the snipers, so to speak, or the shooters, the wingers in Brock and in Daniel. You could argue that Henrik is a better playmaker than Horvat. You can argue, obviously, that Horvat is a much more powerful skater and a much better presence, more of a power forward than Henrik. And then, yeah, so I basically said, do you think that they will ever, match the success of the Sedins? Really, really interesting. I gave 4 options. I gave the yes. I gave the likely, so it's kind of yes. I gave the not likely, or probably not, the kind of no. And I gave the flat out no. So 4 options going from the most positive to the I doubt it. And it was almost split, actually. Well, sort of. The numbers went 21% for the yes, 27% for the likely, 41%, so maybe the biggest number for the not likely, and then about 12% only for the no. So a couple of interesting things. There are more yes votes than no votes, but the biggest majority, the biggest grouping of votes was actually for the no side on the not likely. So again, it was like 21, 27, 41, and 12. Just doing that in my head, that doesn't add up. That adds up to 101%. So I'm messing something up, but basically that's the sentiment. 1 out of 5 said this, so 21, 1 out of 4 said this, 27, 4 out of 10 said this, 2 out of 5 said this, 41, and only 1 out of 10 said that. That's pretty good math, right? So about 20, let's go with that. 20, 27, 41, and 12. 20 and 27, so that means 47%. Basically half of the 250 votes I got, half the people said that it's either going to be yes or it's likely that it could happen. So maybe that's positive thinking. That's wishful thinking. That's Canucks fans really excited about Brock Boeser in particular, excuse me, and Bo Horvat. But that's 47%. That's in essence half. And yeah, maybe the Canucks fans are looking for positive things right now to hang their hat on. But I was actually surprised. I thought it'd be a tiny bit lower than that, even though I would have voted for the likely yes, not the yes for sure, but the likely it could happen, because I am such a big fan of both of them. However, the majority was in the not likely, and then the no's. Those add up to 53%, obviously. 47 and 53 make 100. See, that is good math. And so by a slight majority, more people are saying no. And I get that too. I think, and a couple people made some really good points on Twitter, that I think anyone voting yes might be forgetting just how dominant the Sedins were back in the day in the 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, as the Canucks were gearing up for that Stanley Cup run. In fact, I tweeted out this morning that Henrik Sedin's 112 points of the 2009-2010 season, it hasn't been matched since then in the last 9 years. So he had 112 points, and then since then, in the last 9 years, 3 players, great players, Crosby, Ovechkin, and Malkin, they've got to 109 points, but not the 112 that Henrik got. So Henrik has the most points ever in one season in the last 9 years. That's very impressive. Very impressive. So then I guess if you look at it that way, are Brock Boeser or Bo Horvat going to be 100-point players? I think we'd agree that It's tough for anyone to be a 100-point player. There's only been 9 guys that have done it in the past 9 years. So it's not going to be Horvat. Horvat may max out at a 70 and 80-point player, which is still awesome. Probably way more than anyone expected when we drafted him. Brock he's a wild card. I think he could finish anywhere in a good season in his peak between 80 and 105 points. You never know, right? At least a point per game. I think that's doable, especially if he stays healthy and he continues to shoot the puck basically and score at will. I think you look at, both Henrik and Daniel won Art Ross trophies. Daniel had a 104-point season. Henrik had his 112. Daniel won the Lindsay as voted by the players, most valuable player. Henrik has won the Hart Trophy for most valuable player voted by the writers. So do Brock or Bo have a Hart Trophy in them? Do they have a Ted Lindsay trophy in them, and do they have Art Ross trophies in them? Because both Henrik and Daniel won the scoring title in back-to-back seasons. So there's a lot there, and I can see why some people would say no, Brock and Bo won't match the Sedins, as opposed to yes, that they will. But regardless, when you look at the total numbers, when you split them into yes and no, 47 yes, 53 no, can't get much closer. Well, I guess you can, but it's pretty darn close. But the majority of the vote, the 41%, was indeed in the not likely camp. Canucks fans, would love to hear what you think. I rambled a bit today. This is a very long video, but there's a lot to talk about. There's the new players, Leipsic and Mott. There was the NHL Draft announcement. And, of course, my little ramble here about Brock and Bo versus Henrik and Daniel. Obviously, the pass is being torched. Daniel's hot. He's scored 7 goals in the last 7 games. So it looks like, I wonder if this is going to be something that pushes him in a positive way from the Sedin standpoint and make them want to stay when it comes time to make their decision for next year. And as we know, as soon as they make their decision as to what they're going to do, this is going to set off a rapid fire effect, a domino effect of decisions that the Canucks will have to make. Okay, Canucks fans, leave a comment below. I'd love to read and react to your comments about the new players, Leipsic and Mott, about the draft, about Sedins versus Brock and Bo. Anything else? How are you feeling about the Canucks? What do you think of all this negative versus positive media spin? And whatever you want to talk about, leave a comment below. I'd love to read and react. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, I invite you to do so now. And if you're on Twitter, follow me at CanuckClay. Have a great day. Next game tomorrow night, going with my lovely wife Gail, seeing the Vancouver Canucks and the new players host the mighty and the powerful Nashville Predators. God bless, and go Canucks go.